First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for coming to our office as well as joining us online from whichever city you are present in. We have hopefully been able to put together content that will be helpful to you as you start to think about modernizing your security operations. With what's happening in the world today, with the complexity of our cyber environment, all of us are starting to think about how can we make our security operations more effective, more efficient, and compensate for the lesser skilled resources or the lesser number of talent that we have in the markets for us to be able to augment our security operations team. So how do we leverage artificial intelligence, automation to actually compensate for the human capacity that we are missing today in terms of a skills shortage? So we will be talking about, we've done some work with our friends at Frost and Sullivan, and they'll walk us through in terms of what does a modern SOC, an evolved modern SOC look like? What are the ways in which the best SOC can run, and then what's the journey, and how can we get on that journey? Right, and then that's what Richard, who heads cybersecurity division worldwide for Frost and Sullivan, would take us through, and then we will make it real with our friends at Noventiq, who run SOC operations for some of our larger customers, and they would give you examples of how they're doing SOC operations for our customers in the region. And then we can open up for question and answers together and take the next steps forward as well, in case you would like to. But the objective of this discussion today is just to come together and talk more about this very important topic, right? And with that, without further ado, let me invite Richard to take us through the journey towards the modern SOC.
Sure. All right. Thanks, Neha, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today to speak to you about this modern SOC. Now, unfortunately, my project manager, Kenny, couldn't attend today's session. He's the one that really has the in-depth, in and outs in terms of what we have done. But please bear with me if I make mistakes along the way. Yeah. Nevertheless, I think it is interesting to be here today because I remember many years back in around 2004, I was with one of the first managed security service provider in Singapore or in the region for that matter. Right. So was there for about a year and a half, supporting as a security professional, doing 24/7 support. Yeah, looking at the security operations center for the service provider itself. I was glad to be out of there because if you think about it, 24/7, that's where you're working at odd hours, right? But today in my role, I'm still working at odd hours, doing presentations day in, day out at any time of the day, really depending on where the client is and what the client requires. So that's where I am. But let me just get ahead. So first and foremost, for today's presentation, right, I just want to provide a quick what we call definition of what SOC is really, what we are talking about today. So there's the first part, which is really what is a traditional SOC, and then the second part, which is the modern SOC. Now, traditional SOC, how we have looked at it is really in terms of the three components. The first is, of course, people, right? How skilled or what kind of people are we actually employing? As I mentioned, when I was in my first job in this managed security services in 2004, I'll be frank with you. The kind of analysts that we actually employed did not have any cybersecurity background at all. Yeah. So it was a mishmash of essentially asking them through the interview, hey, are you open to do night support? Yes. Do you know how to use a computer? Yes. Okay, good. Come on board, right? Then basically we will just train them up. We have all the manuals in terms of the security operations procedures. We just follow those, we'll be fine, right? So that's where we were at that time. But of course, today's traditional SOC is slightly more involved than what we were looking at in 2004. So from a process point of view, you have the basic processes all the way from a talent to things like incident management, vulnerability management, etc., and as well as a patch management. And technology, essentially quite a mishmash of the different dashboards trying to manage alerts, incidents, anything that is happening across all the different gamuts, multitudes of devices that you have within your complex network. So what are we talking about when we refer to modern SOC? Modern SOC, essentially, one very important factor is on the training and skills. Yeah, we are really looking for people with CISSP, CNA, CCNA, with a cyber threat intelligence kind of certification, preferably with some element of experience in the operational field, looking at the operation center. Of course, that is the ideal state. Yeah, many times we know that that is not really the fact of the matter, but we try to do what we can. Second part is really in terms of the processes. So instead of those thick manual that we talked about, right, very all hard copy SOPs that we see, some of you who are actually in the military would know, we are standby SOPs, right? That kind of setup. But in today's modern SOC, what we hope to see is everything has been digitalized, to a certain extent, preferably automated, where some element of that mapping, that processes, the next steps, action steps is all automated and provided to our analysts and guiding them in terms of what to do in the event of an incident or any situation. And technology-wise, preferably looking at things like services, tools that we can use in XDR, SOAR, all these things I think many of you on the call today, or rather online, on site, will be very familiar with. So I'm not going to delve into that. But, that is kind of like the ideal state. But more importantly, right, which is really the most important thing, within the security operations center, is it really fulfilling the goal and objectives that you've set it up to do, right? To me, when I look at SOC, it's really about visibility, right? 100% holistic visibility, understanding and being able to know what is exactly happening within the network across every single device I have. That is what I think it should have achieved. Now, of course, you have other aspects like reaction to incidents, all this kind of stuff. But first and foremost, let's clear the visibility capability. Yeah. And then having all that management and automation in place in order to achieve that. So I just want to share with you something interesting, right? SOCs have been around for a long time, right? If you look at the left side, that's where we have the NSOC, NSA, National Security Operations Center. It started all the way from 1975, right? So of course, during those days, they were not really looking at the internet per se. A lot of that, it was more of a security incidents, etc. But today, if you actually look at the NSA Threat Intelligence Center, right? Very, very fancy, air conditioned, everything is all connected. Immediately, you'll be able to do tracing, you'll be able to find out what is the problem. You even have an AI that is actually giving you kind of what we call suggestions in terms of what to do as the next step. Sometimes there's also auto remediation processes that's in place that can actually lock down or basically quantify any issue or any threat that you see within your network itself. Yeah. So hopefully what we want to see is from that traditional or very manual-based kind of approach to the very modern automated systems that we have. So what are some of the key issues that the SOCs face? We have actually classified them into 5 areas. I'll cover a little bit of each one of them as we go along. So first and foremost, you have the cyber threats, right? Cyber threats, without further elaborating, we are just seeing too many of them. You have variations that are out there in the market. What really astounded me was that there was this thing about this ransomware as a service. I was thinking, what is that? Right? So essentially, anyone could literally pay a small sum and get services to someone else to actually, or even tools for you to actually do ransomware attack on any organization that you choose to. That is really commoditizing the kind of attack capabilities into the hands of very, very basic people with basic skills, computer skills, and that's really scary, right? So cyber threats itself is like a huge amount. I think, and I'm sure many of you professionals are already very much familiar with that. The other space, of course, cloud, right? We are all looking at the move from cloud First and foremost, we had that on-premise, then we were discussing and deciding, hey, maybe we should look at the public cloud, moving some of the applications, looking at SaaS. Then we have these things like the hybrid cloud, and then subsequently we have even things like looking at, hey, a good idea is to have a multi-cloud kind of approach because we don't want to make sure everything all just on a single public cloud or cloud service provider, right? And subsequently, you have also areas like costs, right? Have we really talked about whether the investment that we have made within the SOC itself, is it really providing that kind of a return on investment? I'm sure your board of directors are always asking you day in, day out. You're spending so much money on the tools, you're spending so much money on the people, but what is the ROI for the organization? Others will be looking at capabilities, and lastly, the complexity of tools. Yeah, there are so many tools out there, and the tools are always evolving, converging, things are being developed, startups are always coming up from the cybersecurity areas, providing different kinds of capabilities in order to address the threats that we see. Yeah. So what we wanted to do was to really say, hey, we know that all these are the various challenges that SOC face, but is it really what the market thinks? So what we did was to actually do a survey, a very simple survey with 60 respondents in Singapore and Malaysia. Equal mix 30-30, and all of them were from decision makers. Yeah, they were really decision makers. They were really people right at the highest level, CIO, CSO, CISO, very, very similar profile to some of the attendees that we have today for today's session. And they were from the industries of banking and financial services, as well as IT and technology. Now, what are they saying with regards to the 5 challenges that we mentioned earlier? Do they agree? Cyber threat environment increasing in pace and sophistication. 100% of surveyed Singapore enterprises experience a cyber incident. Means that 30 respondents will say that yes, we experienced a cyber incident. Just 2 years back, right, we actually did a similar survey, not necessarily just on Singapore and Malaysia, but more the region. That was definitely not 100%. It was more like around 70%, 80%. Of course, they will have a small segment that say that, hey, we do not know. Right? Unfortunately, that's the fact. But 100% of them mentioned that they have experienced a cyber incident over the past 12 months. And that is the world that we are living in today. Yeah. If you think about it, Microsoft, I remember hearing the CTO from Microsoft saying that, yeah, in a year, we experience almost 1 million of different types of issues, alerts, actual incidences that's happening globally. I was like, wow. So it's really a serious situation. So cloud utilization is also growing significantly. 90% of Singapore enterprises are using some cloud in their organization. And that's also again changed. Previously, I remember there was also that mindset. Hey, I'm not going to go into the cloud because the cloud essentially means that everything is outsourced to the service provider. I do not know what is happening within that black box of the cloud itself. How much control do I get? Where's the liability, etc. Right? Today, 90% of Singapore enterprises are using some form of cloud for their organization. So cloud is not going anywhere. Next is that when it comes to cost, constraints, and capabilities, right, it is increasing. It's very simplistic to just say, hey, manpower cost is very, very expensive. Cost to run and maintain, it's very challenging. But if you really look at the manpower cost itself, we did some calculations. Essentially, just for a simple SOC, you're looking at least 12 person to operate. And why 12 person? Because you need 24/7 coverage, right? Unless you're looking at an 8, kind of like 8 hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of a shift, which kind of defeats the purpose of the SOC, right? Yeah, but minimum 12 person for a reasonable size SOC. And if you think about it from a cost perspective, right, every year you're looking at almost $1 billion Singapore dollars spent just on labor costs. On top of that, it's not just about the money, but you're looking at also things like you need people who are certified, right? People with the right set of skills. You need people who are willing to work 24/7, right? It's hard to find that kind of individuals out there. I see a colleague that is nodding his head. I think that's good. And more importantly, you need to do background check, right? To be frank, in my first job and at this in 2004, right? I worked with some very interesting characters. To be very frank, I'm not saying that was not good, but it's just that during that time, probably the context was slightly different. But trust me, some of those characters were very, very interesting. But the main thing is that they were willing to work over the 24/7 kind of approach. Yeah. Now, when we talk about the costs to run and maintain, it's not just also about the tools, because you're also looking at things like backup power. You need redundancy. You need switch over and backup internet, right? All this add on to the cost of operating and maintaining a SOC. So you can have literally a line item Excel and then just start calculating, how much does it cost to operate your SOC in a year. Both quantitative costs as well as those softer kind of costs that will actually be incurred by the organization. So the complexity of IT and cybersecurity tools is really leading to poorer security outcomes, right? Our guys need to continuously upgrade their skills, get so-called awareness in terms of the new tools that's coming out into the market. There's a lot of different types of solutions. How do you choose the right vendor? How do you choose the right solution? How do you actually support legacy applications? Right, that is one of the big problems. After I went from this MSS and then subsequently I joined the bank, right? I'm not going to say which bank, but it was an interesting environment. You have those where we have the latest age in terms of ATM solutions, ATM technologies, as well as what we call the internet banking. Internet banking, when I first joined the bank, that time was really something at the cutting edge, right? And then, but at the same time, you have the very traditional mainframe. Everything cannot touch, you cannot upgrade. You're still using, I think, COBOL programming in order to operate the system. So legacy applications is really also another challenge. And there's this lack of a single pane of glass because you have a disparate of systems. You have to go to this screen. Sometimes you have to change your workstation in order to get access to certain kind of devices in order to track and monitor what's going on within the app itself. So all this actually comes from contribute to the high complexity of this cybersecurity environment. 76%, and in Singapore itself, 97% of CIOs believe that their organization experienced IT complexity within their environment. Yeah. So 97%. You want to really try to simplify it and make it easier for our guys to do their work. Because that's what we are all aiming for, to be able to operate efficiently and effectively in that environment. And definitely it impacts the organization. There are new data sources, misconfiguration, mistakes are made. In another one of the surveys that we had, one of the biggest problems and concerns among CISOs was that misconfiguration, human mistakes. So when you have all the complexity, you want to really kind of make it a little bit easier, leverage on automation in order to make sure that some of those very basic tasks are automated so that it's done correctly. So to kind of recap, we have covered the 5 key challenges of SOC operators, all the way from cyber threats to costs to capabilities to complexity. So what does that mean? It means that organizations cannot stick to the status quo, right? We need to look at where we are today in terms of our traditional SOC and then moving towards that modern security operations center. Right, all the legacy issues, resource constraint, compliance focus, struggling to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the regulators day in, day out. And then the worst is that when the auditors come, that's where we do a scramble to look at how we can actually address some of the points that's raised. And lastly, very, very large and complex data. How do we actually sort through the gamut of alerts that we are getting through? I think a false positive is one of the biggest problems which I would get we talk about a little bit. So cybersecurity ties back to the business part of this, right? Which is really to enable digital transformation as well as to improve confidence and digital trust. Imagine a day where, just to use the example for Microsoft, we say that there's a huge breach in Singapore itself, the Azure cloud is down, nobody can access it. Wow, the kind of damage that will.
Touch wood.
The damage on Microsoft brand is going to be huge, right? Huge. Yeah, but so far I think it's been great. Yeah, because I think from even when you compare to what I've mentioned earlier on, the CTO mentioned about the millions of incidents that we experience globally, but to today, I haven't heard of any negative news from Microsoft yet. So that is a really plus point. Yeah, good job to them. Not trying to sell them, of course, but I'm just stating the fact. Yeah. So whatever the case is, what I'm trying to emphasize is that customer confidence is very, very critical in today's world because everything is so digitalized. you have any failure, it will have impact on your company, on your brand, as well as what is going to, you invite a lot of questions from different ways. So the expected outcomes of this SOC modernization, 1, 2, 3, very straightforward: improve detection and response, simplification, cost optimization. Yeah, but the more what we call ideal state that we should also aim for is looking at things like how can we be compatible in terms of the cloud applications? How do we actually balance that out to make sure that everything that we have, both from the system side as well as within the security tools that we have on the cloud, that is all integrated and operating properly. Integration of interoperability to me is a very critical factor when you look at the security operations center. Because people always like to say that, hey, we have a fantastic platform, but how well does that platform integrate with all the various tools that you have? Are you going to just get everything from a single provider, or are you going to get different tools from different providers, and how they will all work together? Yeah, that personally to me is a very critical decision, and that will be a decision that is unique to every single organization in terms of the direction that you need to take. Lastly, of course, you want to make sure that your SOC has all the various AI, ML capabilities. AI is all the rage today, right? We're all talking about that, but it's really true. How do we actually look at automation? How do we look at specific kind of intelligence using the tools that is already available out there in the market to make our jobs easier? Yeah. So that capability upgrade is also very, very critical. So we think that from a modern SOC perspective, right, you'll be able to address many of those operational changes. Earlier on, I talked about this integration, able to collect all that data, as well as able to kind of like aggregate all the data from different network sources, right? Then others like things like cost of operating the various solutions. These are kind of the challenges that we think the modern SOC will be able to address. Yeah. So the modern SOC is really vital to improve cyber and business risk. Earlier we talked about digital trust. How does that do that? It enhances the existing SOC team. SOC is not about removing the team, right? It's really about complementary role, leveraging our technology, making sure that your guys have the kind of skills to be able to make use of that technology in order for them to do their job. Give them better tools so that they can perform better. Using an integrated approach regarding the tools, and then as well as enhancing the capabilities. So what is the immediate next steps for organizations? For you as an end user, for you that have maybe already a SOC that is operating within your organization, what you need to do is to understand where you are today. What is the current state of your SOC? What are the gaps that you've seen within the SOC itself? And then lastly, where do you want to go? Right? A simple roadmap. How do you do that? What we have done is to actually develop this very simple toolkit. It goes through 3 stages of maturity. First is that availability monitoring. Second is proactive detection and response. And then third is that proactive detection and response with automation in place. So this is a very simple, what we call maturity assessment for a SOC that we've seen. The tools that we'll be using will cover these areas. First and foremost, you will look at these 2 segments, right? The tools and infrastructure evaluation. And then second is really an evaluation of your SOC processes as well as the procedures. It's a worksheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah. So within the tools and infrastructure, we have several items. That is the 8 items. Simple yes and no, and that will actually give you a score of where you are. Next is really with regards to the processes and procedures. The processes and procedures, there are 5 stages of maturity, talking about initial, manage, define, quantitatively manage, as well as optimize. So within each of them, there is some element of a definition, right? So those processes will cover 12 areas, all the way from things like incident management to this vulnerability management to change management, etc. So you can actually assess yourself. It's a self-assessment tool. And the tool will then give you an overview of your organization, where you are today in terms of your maturity, both in terms of tools as well as in terms of the processes. Now, the end state is that really, once we have identified where we are, what are the gaps, how do we actually evolve towards that modern SOC, having all the capabilities in place in order to achieve what we want to look at from our SOC operations. Okay, so with that, I've run through very quickly some of the content, but please feel free to let me know if you have any question. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has been Awesome. Thank you so much. Just for reference, Frost and Sullivan team and Richard's team has also helped us build, an assessment which we can leverage in order for us to realize where we are, what are the controls we need to put forward next, and then next and next in order to help us progress in the journey. But that's something that we can share with you after this meeting. With that, over to you, Sam.
Thank you, Neha. Let me explain.
Yes, please. Perfectly okay. People in the, in the call also can see you.
All right, thank you. So, yeah, let me start with very quick introduction. Very quick introduction on Noventiq, right? For who doesn't know Noventiq, we are one of the global Microsoft partner, and Right. So, we had customer to drive the digital transformation, right? And of course, in different area, different type of technology. So here in the APAC, So here in the APAC, we operate in 8 countries. We have more than 2,500 customers across Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, Malaysia, and we're starting in Singapore and Indonesia just last year, right? So that's the reason why maybe one of you guys not really heard about us yet, right? And yes, recently we received few awards, especially on Microsoft technology. We are the Asia Pacific Security Part of the Year award this year, right, 2023. And in terms of Microsoft, right, so we leading Microsoft partner. You can see, one of the only several Microsoft global managed partner worldwide. We partner of the year in several countries. And of course, in Microsoft, right, you will see a lot of different technology. There are cloud, there are Azure, data AI, digital app innovation, and of course, security, right? And we achieve all 4 security event personalization, right? But then I think, let me move to the topic today, right? And of course, firstly, let me share with you, firstly, how I convince customer, right? Especially when we talk about Microsoft. Before COVID or 5 years ago, if I talk about Microsoft, the first thing customer will say, guys, Microsoft only sell Office, Windows, right? And not much will say Microsoft going to do security, and they will say, no, they will not, right? But then if you see Microsoft right now, and of course, I think before COVID, you maybe always, its number actually is taken right now. So, I mean, the reason why I choose to start working with Microsoft, especially on security, actually 4 or 5 years ago, they invest firstly a lot of position in terms of security analysis and security engineer, right? And at that time, I look on LinkedIn, I saw, wow, they're hiring a lot, right? And I think they started and they're serious on the investment on cybersecurity. And you see the number today. So actually, Satya, he recently said, in the next 5 years, they're going to invest 20 billion USD, right, to the technology. And then they hire lots of people. They have dedicated team to monitor national state group as well. So they're serious on cybersecurity, right? And this is just a number, right? But then how the industry look at that as well. So you will see from Gartner, they are leader in many different Magic Quadrant report. And I mean, what I'm trying to say here is why Microsoft, right? And why Microsoft in terms of cybersecurity? Because if we look back 4 or 5 years ago, it's nothing, right? Microsoft let that area to be handled by guys like Trend Micro, McAfee, right? But so forth. But right now they're having their own technology. So you can see from many different areas, right? Access management, cloud security broker, unified endpoint management. I think one of their famous technology right now, endpoint protection platform, right? Or the endpoint security in short. Okay. And of course, for today, our top focus technology is that's the SIEM, Security Information Event Management. Right. So recently so the latest Gartner report, you can see from 2022. So Microsoft come from nowhere. I think last 2021, they are in, I don't remember, niche player or visionary. And right now they go up on top on the leader, top one, right? Leader in Gartner and very high in terms of execution. So, of course, you will say, Gartner, that's another report, right? And in terms of execution, Microsoft very high. But of course, let our team later, I actually in the con, I have my SOC team based in India. So they will show you what technology look like, right? And then how you can use it. And to be honest, right now we have a lot of customer, they consider moving from the classic SIEM, like, of course, they are using Creator Splunk for the last 10 years already, and they really want to see something new, right? They really want to see the cloud-based, and of course, back to Frost and Sullivan presentation, they want to modernize their SOC. Right? So right now, they consider it and they look at Microsoft in a different way. So another thing is Forrester, right? They also have different type of report, but anyway, key thing here is, yes, Microsoft technology and Microsoft, in specific Microsoft security technologies right now is one of the best in the market, right? And you can see what Microsoft positioned their solution, not only to protect Microsoft services, right? But also they provide multi-cloud solution. Their solution right now can connect to AWS, can connect to GCP if you guys using multi-cloud, right? And then, of course, not only Windows anymore. Right now, you can see Microsoft technology support Linux. They love Linux, right? Mac OS, even Android and iOS devices, right? So this kind of thing right now, Microsoft very different from the last 10 years, I think. So if you're back to 10 years ago, Microsoft employee, for sure you cannot use Mac OS. For sure you cannot use Android device. You need to use Windows phones, right? But right now, it's should be fine. And here, right, the very key thing I want to highlight, that's the AI technology that they will bring to that product. And of course, right now we're having bed of suits and bed of bread technology. But if we look at the SIA technology, the first thing that we will, every vendor will try to position the solution in different way in terms of the feature, in terms of the different type of technology they put in it, right? But then if we look at another way in terms of, because for the SIM, right, beside collecting the log, right, it's also need to give you the visibility into what the log mean. Right? And then of course here we're talking about the threat intelligence, right? And then how Microsoft is doing this in terms of threat intelligence. So you see these three lines, right? They're analyzing right now trillion raw of security signal, prediction, and automate action. So let me go into detail, actually what they collect. So this is the inside view of the Microsoft threat intelligence. And this one right now integrate directly to the SIM technology that they are providing to the market, right? So of course, we have different type of technology to collect the information, to dark market, threat fit, and then of course, I think 100 million of Windows device, right? So they use this thing to collect telemetry data, right? And from here, of course, for this data, they do collection, normalization, they public that into internal API that will be connected by different of Microsoft security technology. Right? So here you can see like Defender, different type of Defender, and of course our main today is Sentinel. So this is the SIM technology that Microsoft is bringing to market, and of course they integrate with the internal threat intelligence system. And very important here is the human, right? They invest a lot on the human threat hunter, engineer, data scientist to update back, right? And of course analyze the data that they collect from million, thousand million, or even billion of devices. Okay, so this is the insight of the Microsoft threat intelligence, and is integrate directly into every security solution they are having. And right, so coming back to the 5C that Frost and Sullivan put, right? So we have cloud, cost, and complexity, right? So right now we have different silo in terms of security operation, and of course attacker, right? They will try to travel across these silos. They will, let's say if they see, wow, you have very strong identity protection, then we try to, let's say, go via the email, phish your employee, right? I mean, they try different way to get into your environment. So the key thing is for us, for Defender, right? We look at this silo technology, we have different view, different portal, and it's very challenging. So the key thing here is how to integrate this kind of thing, right? So that's come to the Microsoft where, they converging tool and data. So different, we have identity, endpoint, email, application, many others, right? And from here, the signal sharing by default across. But then the very important thing here is the unified entity definition. This is it. Right? So let me put example. Like so in Linux, right, you will see the username going to be USR or just user or something, right? But then others technology, they put the full username. I mean, it's very hard for you to map, let's say just the user, right, from different technologies together. And of course, for Microsoft, they already have the unified one. So meaning that, let's say the alert from the identity, from the endpoint email, they will have the same definition user on the email, on the file. You don't need to do normalization, right? But here by default, it's already, single entity, right? And then of course, it's easier for you to do correlation, prioritization, right? And here we can easily, map all of the events, right? Then alert and grouping the alert together into incident. So the beauty of Microsoft solution here, I would say, I work with Curata and other stuff, right? And they create, I can say, thousands or even million alerts every day, right? And one of the things I don't understand why they not grouping the alert together and into one single incident. But right now, Microsoft doing that by correlate this entity definition together. And from here, yes, it's easier to do investigation, remediation. And a very important thing here is to have single auto experience, right? You don't need to travel across your, let's say for this one was, I see one of our customer using the next, Tenable, Tenable technology. Here they're using Symantec or Tremicro, so on and so forth, right? And all of this having different hosts, and then you need to integrate it to put everything into, connect it with your SIEM. So let's come to the next slide. That's actually the modern reference architect for security operation. So usually we have many different type of security solution, right? And we try to connect them, collecting the raw data, put it into your SIEM, right? For example, you're using Curata Splunk, and then from there you do correlation. You need to map different entities together. You need to do normalization of your data, try to reduce duplicate, right? And then, of course, from here you got all the raw data in, and of course many challenges, especially with this raw data, right? You need big amount of data sending to your log, sending to your SIEM. It is painful, right? And then of course noise happening here. So what we need to have is when, of course, let me put it in the way that Microsoft solved the problem, right? Of course, firstly, they provide customer with the deep insight layer. So this is the expert tool that designed specifically for, let's say, to protect the infrastructure, to protect the identity, endpoint, application, right? So they have this technology, right? It gives you actionable order. And of course, you don't need to collect the raw data directly from here, but then you can just connect your SIEM to this product, right? This product already have the log collector. They will collect every user activity, every network activity, or anything related to, let's say, your local AD, right? Everything will be collected by default by this tool. And then from here, you can connect to your SIEM. This tool already reduce certain amount of data, right? And of course, you directly get the alert from here, right? Not try to correlation and then try to create different use case on the SIEM just to detect. For example, I have one of the banks in Malaysia. They actually really like the Defender for identity to protect their local ID, the on-prem Active Directory. Right? Actually, back to 1 or 2 years, they using Curata. Right? They try to get all the log from the local AD, right? Put it to Curata because they heard from the Curata guys that they have different kind of offense to detect certain type of attack on the AD, right? But then they realized that even with the existing offense from Curata, it's not enough. It just detect like 10% of 100 of different type of attack that can be possible to your AD. right? Then that's the reason why they use the technology. And to be honest, for today, I don't have enough time to go deep into each of this part. But then for defendable IoT, for identity, you can go to Microsoft website. You can list down all the existing cases that you can see. And I mean, that the defender for identity can detect. And of course, help you to protect your on-premise. And on-premise is very important, right? Because that's the target for every of the attack. And of course, after this, we can connect to the Sentinel. So this is where we correct everything at the port enterprise view. We can also ask, get your current net security and network solution connect to it, right? And right now, Sentinel have many different, out of the box connector. So actually, I will not, using this slide to present to you what is Sentinel and what it can do, but our SOC team will do that, right? Our SOC team will give you a full view on the Sentinel, the current portal. Actually, to be honest, this is also what our customer really like. If we look at others, SIEM technology, how frequently they change the UI, or how they try to optimize the UI to fit with the analysis and hunter. I think they, even in the 4 or 5 years, the dashboard of this technology, right, almost the same. It's not much improvement, or they try to, see if there's something new and what they need to improve. But then, to be honest, if you look at Sentinel UI 3 years, 4 years back now, completely different, right? Microsoft keep improving the UI, especially to fit what analysis center, what they need, right? And of course, I'm a part of the what they call cloud security customer connection program, right? And from there, you can give direct feedback to the team. So they have, different type of survey and team meeting as well for us to, let's say, guys, you should not put the UI this way. You should get this relevant incident, blah, 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 right? So this kind of thing we can give the direct feedback to Microsoft team as well, and they keep improving their program, right? And back to the complexity, right? You see, we can have many different type of technology. Of course, you may choose the best of them, right? Symantec 5 years ago, they're the best on endpoint security. FireEye for the sandbox technology, right? CyberArk, Exabeam, and many other stuff. But then, like what the first challenge we say how to integrate these guys together. This guy will have different portal, right? And of course, there will be no single portal, but the only single portal we're going to see is dashboard openness. And from there, you need to do many other things to get on the log connected and to get the other project. But then for Microsoft, right, everything by default integrated. You don't need to do certain integration, right? By default, even these are different name, different technology, right? But by default, they're already integrated, and you will see it on a single portal. So our software will show you later, right? And from here, for this kind of technology, right, it will serve at the first tier for the automation and the tier one. So this is where our SOC team will see very high volume of incident, right? But then, of course, based on the expert tool that we are right now having, we can already reduce the noise, and we can already reduce the false positive of the alert, right? But then you will see many cases which needs to escalate to the tier 2 or even tier 3, where this guy need to do threat hunting, right? So for existing Microsoft technology, you can use the key query. That's the unique query. Is quite similar to the SQL, right? So you can use this to do the productive hunting. And of course, from that, you can also do advanced forensics as well, right? And it's back with the threat intelligence that I mentioned before, 1,000 billion of signal analyzed every day by Microsoft. And of course, where they got this thing from your Windows device, from the Office device, from every Microsoft product. Okay. So, of course, we have the technology, but then in terms of Noventiq, we not only provide you the technology, we not only help you with the implementation, we can also help you with the monitor as well. And we provide, so that is our cyber defense. We provide 24/7 monitoring. right? And from here, of course, you can, firstly, if we look at the cost, right, for the staff, we can reduce this, right? The staff will be now managed by us, right? We have a big, right now, almost 20 different security analysts sitting in India, and this guy provide 24/7 monitoring, follow the trend. And of course, from here, you can expect the price, and I mean, this is not the traditional chip, right? But then we back with our people. So yeah, our security team, yeah, they use Sentinel. Yes, of course. This is their operation. Operation model. So for our teams right now, okay, the team KPI actually is based on the mean time to acknowledge and mean time to remediate. So meaning that the team needs to be very quickly detect the incident, right? And of course, acknowledge you, and then based on your advice, based on your approval, we will do certain remediation. Right? So we have SOC analysis from Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 sitting in India, right? So this guy right now joining the call. Okay, and we have the incident management team as well, and of course, we connect with different type of threat intelligence, not only Microsoft, right? Microsoft just give us the east side, but how about the west side of it, right? Then we're also working with Toronto, with Kaspersky, with other threat intelligence service provider to back our SOC team, right? So this is the operating style, and of course, what we're trying to do here is to provide you the continuous detection and continuous response, right? In terms of data visibility, analytic response, and then continuous feedback. Right? So all of these things we need to put in place, because for sure, if we only focus on this area, then you know, yes, we got the visibility, right? But then how we improve it, right? And then how we reduce the noise more positive, right? So we need continuous feedback as well. And we're not going into detail because the SOC team will do that. And yeah, so this is our interaction scheme. Actually, we pretty much follow the Microsoft preference security architect, right? Where we advise customer to have this deep insight layer first, right? And after that, of course, if the customer already have the SIEM, then we can integrate it with the existing SIEM, right? But then here, we of course advise customer to go with Sentinel. Some of our customers really want to keep their on-prem or the existing SIEM, then yes, we can also do certain, coexisting, right? So meaning that we keep your existing SIEM operate, but then most the other we follow to Sentinel, and we do the central monitoring from there, not from this SIEM. And after a while, we will deprecate this SIEM. So let me go into further, how to modernize your security version with Sentinel and what is Sentinel capability, right? So for Sentinel, yes, it's end-to-end security solution for security operation. You get visibility, collect the log, right? You have different tools to do analytics, to do hunting, and then you can use the tool to investigate incident and then automatically respond. Right? So let me go to X area, what we can do. So for the visibility, right? So this is where we collect different type of log, and we got visibility into our environment. And of course, for Sentinel, as I mentioned before, it's not only support Windows environment or only Azure environment, but right now you can connect it with any cloud you want, right? AWS, GCP by default. But then if let's say the New Wave Cloud or Alibaba Cloud, then we can deploy certain CF or syslog collector and collect the log from there. And we have many different options. It's not just follow the Microsoft technology. Even you can use Logstar, right? An open source log collector technology. So you can use this to collect anything to Sentinel. But then the more important thing here is how we going to structure it, right? So this is a log collection record architect. So we have Sentinel here. Actually, Sentinel is itself the technology, the analytic technology. But here, the very important part is the log analytic. Actually, this one is the database, right? Non-SQL database, sit in Microsoft service. And of course, every log will be pushed to this, guys. And the way it's cost right now, based on how much data you invest, right? So it's very important for you to ingest the right log, right? Because for sure, if you collect everything, then you're going to pay huge amount of money to Microsoft. But, yeah, please.
quick questions. Let's say if we are going to go with the log analytics workspace, right? How are you going to migrate of the existing data from the current SIEM if you are moving into the Sentinel?
Right. So it's going to be depend on your existing SIM, right? But then right now, for example, with Curator, they already have the API connector. Actually, it will not push the log to analytic workspace, but it will push the alert directly to Sentinel.
That's the alert. But
Yeah.
let's say if you want to retain the log
Ah,
for a year for
I see.
compliance.
Then let's say if you are I'm not sure which technology or let's say, for example, IBM Curator, they have the log collector, right? You can also set up that collector to another forward the log to log and take workspace. But then you have, double the log.
You have that's
I think he meant historical data.
historical data. Yeah.
Historical data.
Yeah.
To be honest, if let's say you're right now having the existing SIM, right? And it's on-prem or on cloud?
On cloud.
On cloud, right?
Mm.
Oh, I see. Question. I think it's going to depend on the scenario, but usually, right, what we seeing, let's say for the existing SIM, you already have something, let's say on-prem first, right? So usually on-prem is better place for you to store historical. You don't need to pay more. But let's say it's on cloud, then I would suggest, because you are moving, right? Let's say if you are having plan to move to Sentinel from the existing SIM, also on the cloud. So I would say we because to be honest, there will be transition time where I think for the first few weeks we will have duplicate.
I mean, that's fine, but it's how are we going to get those historical data? Is there a solution in place to do such migration?
Yes, actually you can, but then it's also depending on the existing SIM technology you are using. If it support you to forward the historical log on the cloud, let's say IBM cloud to automatic workspace on.
So that question will goes to Microsoft.
Yeah, and of course, depending on the technology that you are using. Then I think that's possible for sure. Just bring the log from somewhere to, to one place to another place. But usually, to be honest, I will recommend to keep the log where is it, right? And then let's say for the new one, you forward it to Sentinel. The log and take workspace to all that, right? And but for sure you should
Because
keep it.
for threat hunting, sometimes you need to
For sure.
draw back to about years or so, right?
Yeah, but then another challenge here we will see is the normalization, right? We're not sure how the current SIM store the log, right? Because this one is non-SQL database. As I know, the IBM Curator, for example, they are SQL-based database. So meaning that it has structured database, but this one is not structured database. So there will be certain challenge. And we must see right now what technology you are using, and then based on that, we have proper migration plan. And the beauty of Microsoft is that they already done this kind of project before, right? So they have very clear transition plan on their website, so we can also refer on that. Then what you see here, Microsoft Sentinel, they support different type of technologies to help you collect a log. That's about log start, right? This one is an open source, right? And they have the native out-of-the-box connector with different type of technology that you may have. And of course, by default, it's already connected with Microsoft Defender. The Microsoft security technology. Okay. And even right now, we have customer who not only monitor their IT system, but also monitor the IoT environment. So we have this customer in Philippines. They just deploy the Defender for IoT, and right now they going to connect both their IoT environment and IT environment to Sentinel, right? And have single view from them. They're not separately this environment anymore because right now both two environments have certain similar risks. Right? Attacker right now they're not only looking at your IT, they're also looking at your operation technology as well. So we need to have a single point. Okay, and of course, from here, after you collect the log, so this is where you can first visualize the log, right? And Microsoft have different type of viewing workbook. They call it workbook. It's just dashboard, right? For you to visualize what you collect. And of course, from our service, right, we can also customize this dashboard. So for example, this is one of our customized workbook for our existing customers, right? And of course, this is a different way to visualize the log that you collected. Okay. And another very important thing here is the cloud building, right? So when you use cloud technology, the very big challenge is how you manage the cost, right? Because if let's say you ingest more and more data, and of course you don't know how much, to be honest, because sometimes let's say your system is very stable, then this will, for example, just 100 gig per day. But then there will be certain peak time. For example, your company have certain event or you deploy something project, right? Then the log will drop. And of course, you need to have someone to closely monitor and of course apply the correct, let's say, Sentinel pricing. Right now, Microsoft already simplified this, right? But still, to be honest, quite complex for our customers. So let's just have you, right? Where we show you which plan that you should choose, right, to optimize your cost. Because on this plan there will be certain amount of discount, right? And you need to choose it wisely. For example, in the beginning you may choose 100 chip per day, but then let's say during the peak time we know that there will be more log coming, then we choose another level, right? Then you get more discount, of course, because you ingest more data, right? But then we will adjust this based on what you are using, right? And of course, another key thing here is we can also control this, right, based on the log source. So for example, for the network log, we actually not ingest it directly to the, sorry, let me move a few other slides ahead. So we not really ingest the log, the network log directly to log network side. The reason why, because the network, let's say the net flow, right, is a lot. And to be honest, if you ingest here, it will pay a lot as well. But for this log network side right now, it have another type of storage. This is called basic log, right? So actually you can ingest that to the basic log only. Then you can refer back at the time again. You don't need to put it directly to this workspace because actually it will cost you a lot. I mean, there will be certain way that we can optimize the cost and control the cost that you're going to pay. Okay, and then of course for Microsoft, they also have this code analysis. They use the AI to, give you the forecast of what you are using and how much you're going to pay. But then, I mean, using cloud, this one is not fixed price, right? It's based on your data ingestion, the amount of data you have to ingest. So for sure, to control the cost, then you need to closely monitor. But I mean, there will be different view here, right? Some customer will say, no, I want to have predictable view, right? Then the fixed price going to match. But then we have customer, who have limited budget, right? And then of course they want to control the cost of the solution they're going to pay for. So this is how our team right now helping them to optimize the current log that is existing and also closely monitor the cost. Any question?
Is there a way to filter the logs before you?
Yes, so you can do it from the agent itself. So at the agent which collect the log, right? This agent, you can already filter which log you want to collect. Right? Of course, let's say for this technology, because they are using the built-in connector, but then on the connector itself, you can also pick the log that you want to collect, right? Not just to collect everything from this type of technology. Okay. So then, yes, I mean, there are different ways for you to optimize. And yes, you can filter from the agent here before it inject a log to a log on the workspace. So only when the log live here, then you pay for it. You pay for the data you inject. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention, from this side, right, you can see this have the native connector. And of course, there will be certain log here that will be free, right? I mean, Microsoft will not charge you. And even if let's say you are using the E5 from Microsoft, right? I mean, Microsoft 365 E5, you get additional benefit when Microsoft reduce the money that you need to pay for Sentinel. Okay, so let me move forward. So after we collect the log, right, we get the visibility, then of course we need to control the view, right? Then we move into the analytic part, right? So this is a very important where we have different technology and different room for you to, detect the threat, right? Of course, here with the viewing, so this screen capture, I think 2 or 3 years back, and you see at that time Microsoft only have their viewing the rune template only around 50 something. Right now, if you access the Microsoft Sentinel, we say 300, 400 plus. Right? But then, of course, you should not turn them on, right? I mean, based on what you are having, based on the log that you collect, then you will choose the rune that's suitable, right? And of course, the key thing here is we also need to, design our monitoring use cases, right? So this is actually our example monitoring use cases. So our SOC team design, I mean, they already have in play around more than 400 different type of use cases, right? I mean, use case here is just like, for example, so this is one of the our use case, access to the watchful file detected, right? I mean, based on the log that we collect, we can decide if this use case is suitable, because for sure this use case also depending on the log type as well, right? The source that we collect. Okay. And this is the beauty of if you're using the managed service provider, right? We have our knowledge base. We share what we did for other customers as well, right? Because for sure, let's say other customer using Pronto, for example, right? They have this certain use case. We can also advise you that, guys, you are also using Pronto. Please, this is the use cases that we, based on our experience, we already designed and we consult with another customer, right? And of course, from your side, you can also give us, let's say, guys, we want to detect this type of scenario, right? Then we can also design the use cases, right? And of course, put it into the Sentinel. And of course, here in our knowledge, right, beside the use cases, we also have very clear process on incident management. What the level one, what they need to do, right? Enrichment, investigation, what they need to do to collect the log. And then of course, let's say based on the result here, what they need to do to remediate, right? And of course, at that step, we will immediately notify you, right? Get approval from you if, let's say, this action require certain privileged access or it's very sensitive action. Okay. So this is the knowledge base that we have. Okay. And also the beauty of Microsoft solution is have the ML, machine learning and the AI thing, right? So many different technology that we can bring, and I think you heard about the security copilot, right? So this is the latest Microsoft technology to put the AI, right now in reality, right? Not just hearing it, right? But in reality, helping the incident responder to faster detect and respond to the threat, right? Okay, so I think everyone familiar with ChatGPT, right? So with this security copilot, you can do the same. You ask question, right? And it's give you the answer. And of course, the answer here based on your current system, right? Not just generic answer from somewhere else, but it's actually connect to your source, connect to, let's say, so it's help you with many different things. But if we look at how it integrates with the existing technology, right? For example, with Defender for Endpoint, this is the endpoint security, right? This can help you to run query, prepare report. Even your team can learn from what it's doing, right? And even right now, it's have capability to reverse the malware. Of course, we don't know how this will, the reality, I know the complexity of this task, right? Sometimes malware encrypted by different type of, keys, something, and we don't know if we can do it completely. But then, yes, right now we can also use the technology to do malware reversing as well. Right? Enrich the alert, and then with Sentinel, it can even enrich the incident. Okay, and another one, this is the Intune. This one is on the endpoint management. Right? Right now the AI is real. Already have technology, already integrate with this Microsoft Sentinel Defender for Endpoint Intune, and you see, you can see the additional benefit that you can bring. Right? And then, of course, right now, one of customer choose to use Sentinel because they know that Microsoft keep investing on the new feature, new capability, and of course, customer they don't need to buy additional, right? The Sentinel already keep improving. And actually, this is the one of the example on the incident response where you ask the AI to analyze one of the incident. Right? Of course, this is just beginning, right? Microsoft will keep investing on this, right? And you will see the AI, technology highly integrated to Sentinel and help you a lot. Okay. Let me stop it. Any question? Go back to this one. Different case, and the query actually is use the natural language. Actually, you don't need. It's similar to ChatGPT. What we are doing right now, just give it question. They need to answer you. Naturally, you don't need to put the KQL or even as I heard from the product team, they also use this to design the analytic room. Right. If you have certain use cases, you want it to generate the KQL, the query, so it can also help you. All right. Okay, so after this, right? Actually, there was one of the hunting part. I put it in the end because it's linked to our SOC team presentation. But then, after we do the analysis and we have the view on the dashboard, and we need to look at the automation and the report, right? So right now, this is the dashboard view, the incident management view from our SOC view and the customer view. But then, the very key thing here is we have different type of automated response, right? Let's say there is an incident, we can immediately process in the team chat room, right? Or send a team message to to all of the team member. Even we can integrate with ServiceNow, right? And this is bi-direction synchronization. So meaning that let's say there is a case, we open the ticket, you close this on the ServiceNow, this will be updated back to the Sentinel, right? And this is native integration already, right? And then you can also do many other things like assessment, investigation automatically, or even we have customer who automatically isolate the endpoint, right? Let's say they find one of the machines compromised or infected by malware, it's automatically isolate that machine for you at the time the incident burst, right? So you don't need to wait for a while or even have very deep investigation and then you make the decision, right? But at the time the incident trigger, you can already do the remediation first and then let's say look at it later. Okay, and actually what we're trying to achieve here is we want to give you the measurable result, right? And of course we'll look at different metrics, right? Security operation metrics, service level agreement, we have customizable reporting, and of course we also have the security intelligence and monthly meeting with you guys to improve what you are doing. But then one of the things that I managed to convince our customer to not really move, but then cooperate, right? They have their IT security team. They're working on Sentinel, but they also use our service, right, on top of. And of course, with our team, we accelerate the time and the number is quite small here, but then at the time they're using Sentinel, there's still 100 unclosed case. So sorry, the number is not very clear. But then with us, right, we make sure that most of the case closed and make sure it's have already the verdict, right? The result from the incident, not just keep the case open. Any question?
Have we tried with the ticket management?
Sorry?
Ticketing management.
So
let's say if you have an incident, does it have unique or how you manage it? If you currently we are using a ticketing management system,
right? Yes.
Are you able to incorporate that into?
Yes. So, but I'm not sure which one you are using. ServiceNow. If ServiceNow, then yes. Right now it's have bi-directional synchronization with ServiceNow. So meaning that if open a ticket, it will be unique ticket, right, on ServiceNow, and then from ServiceNow, you can even close the ticket and it will synchronize back to Sentinel. That's the incident case is closed.
Okay, so Sentinel itself does not have the,
Yes, actually, it's already have the incident management system, but it's not a ticketing system. So let the SOC team show you in detail on the presentation. But then yes, it's have connection with ticketing system.
two-way.
Two-way, yeah. We have customer who don't have this, right? I mean, they don't have the ServiceNow, the ticketing system, but they rely on the, Sentinel on it. All right. Yeah. Not sure if I can zoom in, but okay. Then another part that this will link to our SOC service, actually the hunting, right? It's very important because right now there will be certain thing that we don't have a use case, yes, right? But we need to find the abnormal behavior, right? Actually, yes, Sentinel, they use the click query. It's similar to SQL query as well, right? Very easy to learn. But then, I mean, they have different type of query for you to detect any abnormal behavior happening within Sentinel, right? And I think let me pass over to our SOC team. Deepak, Juliet, you right? You guys ready?
Yeah, I can hear you, Sang.
Right. So yeah, actually, what we're going to do, right? Let's our senior level 3 security analyst. He will give you a demonstration on the threat hunting, right? On Sentinel, how's it going to be, and then of course, our team will also give you a tour on what Sentinel look like, right? Not just via the slide. All right. Over to you, Junet and Deepak.
Yeah, sure, Sam. So, hello everyone. My name is Deepak, and I'm working as L3 engineer in Noventiq SOC. And as a part of threat hunting, we are providing below services like. So, first of all, threat hunting is a proactive process of searching of sign of hidden or emerging threats that may have gone unnoticed by your automated security solution. So, threat hunting is nothing but suppose you are receiving every day, attacks worldwide, and you receive some blog that okay, this attack has happened, this company got compromised, so you will receive multiple IOCs. So IOC is nothing but indication of compromise, and IOA indication of attack, and TTP is also you will receive like technique and procedure. So IOCs can be IP hash, domain on URL, or email ID also, which is being used by the threat actors. And in this like IOC based hunting, we are checking all the IOC whenever we get any blog from threat intel sites. So we check for the IOC hash, domain, URL, and we check if whether there is any hits in your infrastructure or not. So if there is any hits, we further start start investigating to check whether it is actual compromise or it's just I mean it's just someone visited the website and it triggered, I mean the logs has triggered. So and the next is intelligence based hunting. So in intelligence based hunting, we check for the recent threats, technique, and unpatched vulnerabilities, and search for in your environment. So suppose there is some 0-day being exploited in the wild and in some products, and you are using that a specific version which is being exploited. So we will check for that specific exploited version in the logs. So if we found something that okay, you are using that vulnerable version, so we will quickly update, ask you to update, and to prevent your infrastructure. The next is MITRE technique hunting. So MITRE, we also use MITRE framework, to track the APT group tactic and technique. So suppose you are into finance sector and you belong to some specific country, and we found that some threat actor is specifically targeting the, suppose you are from Singapore and we found that okay, this APT group, advanced persistent threat group 29 is directly targeting your country or and your organization. So what we'll do, we will go to the MITRE framework, and then we will check that threat actor tactic and technique, and we have already use cases, and we will just enable those use cases for you, so that if there is any hits from your organization, we will directly inform you. And we can also automate these alerts, as Sang mentioned, based on the logic apps and playbooks which are available in the Azure stack. And the other threat hunting technique is anomaly detection. So anomaly detection is nothing but we write some KQL query and we try to find some anomaly, and anomalies such as something which is being detected, something which is being compromised in your environment, and it is there in the logs, but we don't have use case for that. So we will try to write KQL query and find out anomaly from the logs. Anomaly such as crypto mining and malware beaconing, unauthorized data transfer. So if we found that these things are detected, we will try to investigate more, and if it is required, we will send it to forensic team for further investigation to check whether it is actual compromise or not. And next type of hunting is post detection hunting. So this we leverage the incident report from an event, and then we create workflow, and then we start hunting. In the suppose we found one customer has an incident, so we leverage that incident report, and then we try to find the same kind of behavior and into the multiple customer environment, so that like if there is any hits, we will try to inform customer. So now I'll show you the demo of how we use Azure Sentinel for threat hunting. So let me share my screen. Yeah. Any question?
Oh, no. Please go ahead.
Okay, sure. Let me share my screen. Okay. So are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we see.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So in Azure, to search in logs, everything you have to use KQL. So KQL is nothing but Cusco query language. It is, as Sang mentioned, it is similar to SQL. So and it's not that hard, So like to search for the suppose we are someone posted something on Twitter that okay, this is the one of the IP which is trying to attack into multiple companies, and this is the domain which is trying to send phishing I mean which is being included in the phishing email. So what we can do, we can use that use the some website which is collecting the TI feeds, and we can directly write KQL query, and then we can join in our log sources. So as you can see here that this is one website which collects all the feeds which is being posted on the Twitter. So we are also leveraging this website to collect all the IOCs, and then we are checking in our log sources. So this is the device network event which is from Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So we are checking for any hits of the URL or domain in the our device network event. So when we check, we can directly run the query. You can mention in the KQL query here, or you can directly run from here. You can directly choose the time range from here. So when I run, I could see that there is one hits. There is hits from 2-3 hosts from that URL, from this URL. So now we have to investigate the alert whether it is false positive or true positive. So that is a different incident management process which we follow. And the second scenario can be we check we can check the yes.
Yeah. So give me a second. Can you go back to the previous one? So you can say, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure on the other technology how fast is it, right? But then you see we look back 60 days. Of course, we can look further, right? But then when at the time you click run, the results like very quick, fast, right? It was just 1 second. You already see the result. But then look back. I mean, if we see the on-premise SIEM or other technology, I'm not sure how fast, but one of my customer experience, we run the same query, but in IBM query, it's on-prem, and we put we run the button, right, and then we go for coffee. Days later, we go back. It's even still running. Yeah, that's the experience right now. But then, I mean, moving to cloud, right? Very fast, and of course, you can look back even years later.
How long does it take to go for a year?
Can you run this again?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Deepak, can you run this again?
Sure. Sure.
Run this for a year, right?
Yeah.
Run this for a year.
For a year. Okay. So actually, in this case, we are also collect. I mean, we are joining tables. So we are joining. We are taking IOCs from the websites, which is thread feed website, and we are then joining into our table. So this, yeah, it
Deepak,
might
can
take
you
some time, but yeah, as you can see the
change
message
the
here, your
time
query
range?
consuming excessive
Deepak.
resources, but still we get the result quickly compared to other SIEM tools. Yes, it's 360 days, Junaid.
We still see the same trend.
But since there are only these matches in the log source, we could see this,
No, we are able to see only 60 days
so I can just
right now.
Okay. Now?
Yeah, actually, maybe you can reshare your screen.
Okay. Yes. Now, are you able to see?
Not yet. Maybe you can also turn off the incoming videos from this room.
Yeah, actually, there might be some network issue as I am in a remote part of India, connected through remote part of India. So let me.
So the start query is to 7 second. Nice.
Okay, Junaid, is it okay now? Can you see my screen?
Not yet. You can try again.
I was able to see it, but it's disappeared again.
Yeah, I am resharing. Yes.
By the way, you can also share just the window. Okay, we can see it.
Yeah, so that's 17 seconds.
So now it's 17 seconds. That's good. So, yeah, very fast. Yeah. Okay, that's Junaid. Sorry, Deepak, you can move to the second.
Yeah, so a second type of threat hunting, as I mentioned, we can search for the exploited vulnerabilities, which is being exploited in the wild, and which is being tracked tracked in the CSAC catalog. So as I mentioned before, that we can search for the vulnerable versions. So we can just use this website, and we can use the KQL query to search the vulnerable version in our in our log sources. So we are using this Defender log sources. This Defender log sources also capture the versions, device version, and libraries, applications which is being used in your environment. So when I run this application for last 7 days, there is no hits in one of our customer environment. So it's good that there is no hits. And the third type of things, we can search is kind of finding the anomalies. So as you can see, this query is I'm checking like, is there any recon activity happened from using the PowerShell? Okay, so here, like if they are using this encoded command and enc and this command line in PowerShell, and the PowerShell command is being encoded with base 64. So we can use this operator base 64 decode string to decode the base 64 string in the KQL itself. So there are multiple features of KQL queries which is we can leverage to find out the that will help SOC in better analysis. So like we can decode the base64 string using KQL. We can also search for the IP location using KQL. So those things are available. So if I run the query, like if I'm just checking the anomalies, like is there any recon activity going on, and which is being encoded, I mean which is being used as PowerShell is using any recon activity. So I will just search for last 7 days. So as you can see here, I mentioned last 7 days. So it took around 4 seconds, but there is no hits. So again, we are using the Defender table. So device process event contains all the process related things, like which process trigger, which process initiating which child process. So next hunting we can do is like suspicious encoded download using PowerShell. So suppose some malware has started downloading some malicious script or malicious file into the machine after the infection, and second stage malware and third stage malware and all. So they basically use these base64 to evade the antivirus or EDR tools or XDR tools. So when we search for this thing again for 7 days, uh, again there is no hit. So similar to that, we have list of hunting queries in our database. So like we have around more than 100 plus hunting queries, and apart from that, Microsoft also provide hunting queries which you can leverage in your environment and you can directly run. So Microsoft provide around more than 100 plus hunting queries. So as you can see here, and that is also mapped to MITRE tactic and technique. So I can directly run all these hunting queries and I can see the result here. So that is one of the best thing uh, using Sentinel. And I can also use this hunting query as use case. I can create similar use case. If I find the more hits, I can fine tune these use cases, and then I can I can use it as analytic rule also. So if it is like triggering on daily basis, so we can inform customer that this is activity is going on. So this will help in detecting the ongoing threats into your environment. So as you can see here, there are around 122 queries, and there are multiple log sources are also available. So if you see, these are like based on Office 365, Azure, syslog. So syslog will have basically Linux machines, and there are many other log sources on which they have provided the hunting queries, and this is by default by provided by Microsoft. We can also add our own hunting query here. Just go on new query and we can add our new hunting query. And next thing is threat intel. So we can also integrate multiple threat intel tools with Microsoft. So currently we are using MISP and MDTI. So MDTI is nothing but Microsoft Defense for Threat Intelligence, and MISP is like malware information sharing platform. So after integrating the threat intel tool, we will get the indicators. So what kind of indicators? Indicators such as IPv4, domain, URL, email address, certificate details. So what we do, we leverage these TI feeds, and then we create use cases, analytic rule out of it, so that if there is any match from these IOCs to the analytic rule, it will automatically trigger the alert, and then it will our analyst will start working on those, investigating the alert. And if it is like true positive, I mean, if it is after investigation, if you found something malicious, then we inform to customer, and we start investigating further. So this is how analytic rules look like in Sentinel. So again, using KQL query, you can write the analytic rule. So as I mentioning about TI feed, so we have some, yeah. So as you can see here, we have like multiple TI use cases. So here you can see that TI map and email entity to Azure activity, common security logs. So TI map file has two common security logs. So in common security log is nothing but a table. I mean a table in Azure Sentinel which collect events from firewall and maybe antivirus. So whichever log sources uses CA format, it forwarded the logs to common security log. So as As you can see here, we have written the KQL query to create the use cases, and there are multiple filters which you can choose, like for how many hours you want to run the query, for how much time you want to check the data after running the query, and also we can automate. So you can you can directly automate that. Suppose this alert trigger we can directly send to customer, and yeah, so these things we can do using threat hunting and threat intel. uh Junaid, would you like to take over for the next slide?
How
Sure.
about for people?
Any questions?
Well,
Any question?
yeah, can we leverage on the AI? Yes, last formulate the KQL. Correct. And then also, right now, if Microsoft and third-party service provider, they also have published different KQL repository. So you can go there. Even I can show you the link. We have a website just to search for which use cases you want. Right. And there's already someone created KQL, so you don't need to redo that. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Junaid, back to you.
Yes, I will take over.
Thank you.
Let me share my screen. Just a moment. Let me know if I'm audible and my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So quickly in the next 10-15 minutes, I'll be talking about the incident management approach. So instead of boring you with slides, I'll be walking you directly within the Sentinel solution itself. And I will be showing you a real-time demonstration of how an incident triggers and, what are the activities or, approaches that an analyst takes in an incident lifecycle management from the time the incident triggers till the closure of the incident itself. Just so that everybody is aware, this is how the Sentinel, SIEM and source solution look like. This is the first page once you open, which consists of your overview, logs, page, incidents, workbooks, notebooks, threat intelligence, MITRE framework, and various other panes that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a real-time demonstration. So for that, what I'll do is I'll go to a website called as ecar.org, which is one of the websites that is used for demonstrating use case, and I'll try to download an anti-malware test file from this particular website. So if I click on this icar.com, you can see that this site has been reported as unsafe and it is getting blocked. So what is happening over here at the back end is, so if I go to my data connectors and I will open, you can see that we have configured a next generation firewall, which is called as the Palo Alto Networks. So this Palo Alto Network firewall is actually going ahead and blocking that particular activity from being happening because it has been configured to do so. So what's the point of using the Sentinel as a solution? So we have configured Sentinel, and just like my colleague Deepak was stating, we have created an analytical query which will go ahead and trigger an incident and let us know that this particular activity was being carried out. So if you see over here, you can see the analytical rule. Okay, the analytical rule is where you define what action it has to take once the incident gets triggered. So if you see, this is the activity which we just did, like user clicking on a malicious link ICAR file. And we can define multiple things over here, like severity, migrate tactics, and then the rule logic. So this is the logic, which is the KQL, the heart of Sentinel. And we'll need to map those entities. Like, for example, in this particular alert, you can see that I went and visited a website and tried to download a malicious file. So what are the top entities associated to it? What is my IP address of my laptop or system where I'm accessing it from? And what is the URL, which is the ICAR website where I'm trying to access? And what is the destination address? What is the address of this particular ICAR website? So source, destination, and request URL is the mapping which we need to do for this particular use case. And then you'll need to set some parameters like how much time you want to run this query and what data you want to look up from. Set up the threshold because you don't want a lot of noise to be triggering. because if you make this use case, put less time for a use case, and in your organization, if there is more number of activity happening, it increases the load on your, SOC employees, and you can basically go ahead and suppress this particular alert. So in this way, you can also go ahead and, club multiple alerts and group them. So if there are like 10 or 20 events related to one single activity, you can make them trigger as a single incident, and so on and so forth. And the next is the automated response, which my colleague Sang was speaking of. So in this case, you can see that we've created an automated notification for fresh service. So as he was showing you, fresh service is one of our ITSM tools. So once that particular activity is performed in the ITSM tool, the incident gets generated. So if I open my fresh service over here, you can see that there are a number of tickets that gets generated. So what the analyst needs to do is, you can see that this is a ticket that got generated. The analyst opens up that particular ticket, and then they go ahead and lock it on their name. So that is basically by selecting which group, what is the analyst who's working on, and what is the company name, what is it related to, product and monitoring, and then they basically go ahead and perform the incident acceptance. So once this incident acceptance is done, that's when the L1 analyst goes ahead and starts investigating the incident. But a lot of questions were arised upon how the ITSM works. How is there a two-way connection between the Sentinel as an SIEM solution and the ITSM? So that happens with the help of playbooks. So what happens is, if I go to my Outlook application, uh, let me just stop and reshare my screen, because otherwise I'll not be able to share the Outlook application. So I'm resharing my screen. Yeah, just a moment. Okay, so this is our SOC security email box. Sang, you're able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So what happens is, once the incident gets triggered, an automated notification is sent to customer in this format, right? That on this particular date, this particular activity has happened, and directly a link from the portal with an incident number from your Sentinel. So what the analyst does is, basically they go ahead and perform this particular investigation, and they send it to customer. So if you see over here, what's happening over here is customer, is getting notification of the entire notification investigation. Like, we observed this particular detection of PowerShell on this particular date. And then what is the fresh service incident number, Microsoft Sentinel incident ID, on which domain, location, Windows event, when it happened, how it happened, what is the command line, the payloads that are associated to it, the investigation details that are there, what is the event ID that was observed, the host on which it was observed, what is the user associated to the activity, what are the verifications that needs to be confirmed by the customer, and what are the recommendations that have been provided by the Noventiq SOC security team. So this is the live incident from where I'm showing you. This is from Monday around 1807, which happened this month. And then what happens is, after the L1 performs their investigation and sends to the customer team. So just to let you know, whatever the investigation over here, it has been done. More than 80% of that has also been automated by our engineering team. So the analyst, has to just go ahead and click on a single button by using an automated or a manual playbook, and you will get the entire information about what investigation needs to be carried out. So as my colleague Sang was showing, we have knowledge base created on what are the investigations that need to be carried out for each specific use case. So based upon that, the investigations will be carried out, and then the full investigation is provided. So after that, you can see that the customer replies that, this is our action, you can close it, and so on and so forth. But in case if there is a scenario wherein customer says that, no, I'm not aware of this particular activity, you need to further drill down and, find out what this particular investigation is. That's when, our analyst, further drills down into the incident, and, has to go ahead and provide further details on this particular activity. So for this, let me reshare my screen, and show you. Just a moment. Yeah. Yeah. So
We
the
are seeing
analyst,
your Outlook screen.
sorry,
We are seeing your Outlook.
Outlook screen. Okay.
Maybe you can even share.
Okay. I will reshare this. How about now?
Yes, good.
Perfect. So, so basically, as I said, this is the fresh service tool from where the investigation is being carried out. And once the analyst responds back from either Outlook or from the fresh service, he pastes all of his investigation by using the automation playbook and sends this across. It is going both ways. The same information the analyst does not has to send via Outlook or fresh service. One way or the other. If he does in fresh service, automatically it is getting tracked in the Outlook, and if he's doing in Outlook, automatically it is getting tracked in the fresh service. So that's the two-way integration that we have done. And then the analyst changes the status of that particular ticket till there is a response coming in from the customer. So for example, in this case, it is a pending customer, and then there are various other states like work in progress, assigned, resolved, and so on and so forth. So once the analyst, collects and jots down all of the information and then, performs all of the reputation checks from various online scanning tools like who is services or checks the reputation of that IP address by either using the playbook automation techniques that are already available in Sentinel via virus total, hybrid analysis, URL scan, and so on and so forth. And then finally, the analyst transfers that particular ticket to the L2 team if the customer confirms that this is not confirmed by our security. So the L2 team once again goes ahead and performs their set of repeated checks. So for that, once again, in Microsoft Sentinel, what we have done is we have created a number of analytical queries so that our analyst, what they can do is they can just go ahead and search the queries section, and they can go ahead and see what are the multiple queries that have been created based upon each of the use cases, and they can run those particular queries. So say, for example, they want to run a query based upon one of the use case. They just go over there, select that particular query, and then they have to run the use case. So that's how it makes life easy for both the L1 and L2 security. And then the L2 security team, they go ahead and perform additional checks by looking into our antivirus tools, whether that particular system has got infected, use our internal scanners just to make sure and double check that the particular machine is infected or not. And then finally, they will use the fresh service system again and transfer the ticket to the level 3 team if they feel that this is a possible, compromise of an incident. So the L3 team gets involved in all the incidents that looks like a definite kind of compromise situation, and they perform the full root cause of the incident and provide analysis as to how that particular incident happened, when it happened, how that particular attacker entered into the customer's infrastructure, what are the all the actions and recommendations that have been taken by the L3 team, and and they work very closely with the customer till the approval and closure is provided from the customer for the closure of that particular incident. So just to give you an example, this is how the full investigation report of an L3 specialist would look like. This is an example of unauthorized access to server segment. So one of the attacker tried to access the critical infrastructure, which is the server, and our L3 or the forensic team performed investigation, and they found out that the endpoint has detected so many malwares, and these were detected in multiple file paths, and they identify whether these file paths are, is it okay to have these particular Trojans and malwares in these file paths, or it could be it could be due to a pen testing activity, or it could be because of some attacker actually trying to, exploit some vulnerability inside the infrastructure. And then they find out various other meta details like host, IP address associated to it, and then what is the MD5 hash values, various different kinds of hash values, the detection rates, and then any signatures that they have found out with respect to that, and what are the results from the various antivirus scanners, and what is the Yara signatures that have been observed, and various other forensic information that you can find in this particular document that has been performed by the forensic team. As I said, they provide you the full root cause analysis of that particular incident that has happened. And towards the end of this document, you can also see that the forensic team not only provides you a full root cause, but also provides you recommendations of how you can prevent these kinds of incidents from happening in the future. So these are the recommendations that needs to be noticed and taken care of, right? So with this, I'll move on to Sentinel once again, and I will let you know about our SOC team. So as Sang was saying, our SOC team has capabilities of creating analytical rules, which will be custom as well as out of the box ones. And then the dashboards, we have created several number of dashboards for our clients in order for them, for their CISOs and C-level executives that are there, for them to understand, what's happening in their infrastructure. And as my engineering team was speaking about, we can make use and leverage the threat intelligence as well as the MITRE framework in order to go ahead and integrate those use cases and custom rules to provide proactive detection and monitoring and response. So with this, I am done, Sang, and I'll hand over back to you for any questions that are coming.
Yep, please, thank you, Junaid.
Thank you.
So please feel free to ask any question, right? If not, then I will continue the session.
Not sure we have time. It's already.
Yeah, for sure. I will make it very quick. Yeah. So actually, I just have, I think, 1 or 2 slides left. This is the project milestone, right? I mean, the example milestone for every of our SOC project, from the foundation, establish access resources, deploy log collector, up to optimization, and after that go live, right? I mean, we're very structured project timeline, and of course, milestone that we need to achieve for every of our customer, right? And then of course, for the cost, right? This is also, we need to understand what we're going to pay to Microsoft, and of course to, let's say if you choose us, to us as well, right? Then we also can design discovery workshop for predictable building, right? Based on the requirement, your existing system, right? From there, we calculate and, let you know that the potential cost that you may going to pay for the solution and service, right? And of course, beside security monitoring and operation, we do on the, for Noventiq, right? We have a team not only just focus on this, right? We also have another team on penetration testing, red teaming. We're also working with many other customers on the data protection part. That I think we have another separation with Marina Bison already. Anyway, yeah. So I think we should. I'm not sure if everyone already familiar with Sentinel or not, but then if you're not, right, then let's get started. I mean, for Sentinel, it's just a service on Azure, right? And you can turn it on very quickly. If you already have Azure, then you can just go to the search for Sentinel on the search bar, and then you can easily start it, right? And then, of course, please reach out to us, right? We have our advisor always ready, right? And let's talk. Okay? And of course, I think the key takeaway from today's session, right? Of course, we know the tool, right? Microsoft can provide many different tools, and of course, the specialized one, right? Designed for different area of your infrastructure. And then for the services, and of course, is help you to improve the operation and reduce the budgetary as well. And then it's very important for the SOC team to have the right metric, right? And of course, the metric right now is the mean time to acknowledge and mean time to remove. So you can find a few more very valuable resource from his link from Mark List as well. Mark, actually, he's I think the lead cybersecurity architect of Microsoft in US, right? So he designed all of this slide, beautiful slide today. Thanks to him, right? And I think that's the end of my presentation, right? And please feel free to contact us. We have also our feedback form on the screen. So please give us your feedback, any improvement, anything that I should pay attention. Right, thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope, we just prepared a little bit of a snack for you at least to,
Okay, thank you everyone on Teams meeting. And
just.
Thank you.